Hey there guys! In this video we're going to be filling out our fingering chart and note names for our first set of notes on the alto saxophone. Alright, first thing, make sure you have a pencil with a working eraser. You will make mistakes and you'll have to correct them, and a pen doesn't let you correct them. Make sure you put your name up top and we're all set to get started. We're going to start with our note names, draw each note on the staff like we'd see it in our music, and then fill out a fingering chart to help us know exactly what keys to play on our saxophone. All right, let's start with our first note, E. This E that we're going to learn is going to be on the treble clef. So in order to draw a treble clef, we're going to draw a straight line all the way down from on top to the very bottom of the staff. You're going to draw a curved line from the top of that line all the way to the second line of the staff to form the letter P, pretty much. You're going to continue that line and loop down, touch the bottom, curl up, and end up back on that second to bottom line. Our last step, little tail on the bottom, and we are perfectly set. If you didn't get it right the first time, that's okay. Try again. And sooner or later, you'll have a perfect treble clef. You'll have lots of practice today drawing these things. So let's get started. Our E is going to be on the top space of the treble clef. So we're going to go 4 from the bottom. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to draw it in this space, which means we draw a whole note that touches the line above and line below the space, but does not go past. If our line had dipped down, I'd have to erase and draw it again. We want to be as precise as possible. Now, moving over to the saxophone, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of our keys here. I want to make note that this circle by itself is our octave key. These 3 are the keys you would press with your left hand, and these keys are the keys you'd press with your right hand. We'll talk about how to hold a saxophone in a different video, but for now, it's nice to know in advance. For our high E, our octave key E, we're going to fill in our octave key circle, our first 3 tone holes for our left hand, and our first 2 tone holes for our right hand, leaving the last one empty. Make sure you're filling your circles in all the way. In lessons or band, when you ask me how do you play an E, I'm going to tell you to look back at this sheet and you'll be able to tell yourself. All right, next note, D. Again, this is going to be octave key D. We're going to draw our treble clef. The treble clef tells us that we are playing specific notes that exist. These are higher notes. There's 2 other main clefs, the bass clef as well as the C clef. Other instruments use those clefs, but alto saxophone and all other saxophones use the treble clef. So D is going to be the 4th line from the bottom. So we're going to count to 1, 2, 3, 4. That 4th line, we're going to draw a whole note, open circle for D. Again, making sure that we don't touch a line above or below. We stay nice and neat where it needs to be. For our fingering chart, we have a thumb for our octave key, all 3 in our left hand, and all 3 in our right hand. And we are all hands on deck for this note. All of our fingers, besides our pinkies, will be down and our thumb will be down. Octave key D. Next note we're going for is C. We have a very different fingering for this note. Again, our treble clef. Don't worry if you can't draw these too fast. I want you to draw them neatly, not quickly. Over time, you'll learn, after drawing many of these, you'll learn how to do them quickly. But for now, we want neatness and correctness. C is going to be in the 3rd space from the bottom, so we're going to count 1, 2, 3. Nice whole note, nice and neat. We're going to move to our fingering chart. We are not going to use our octave key. Actually, we're only going to use the middle key in our left hand. So we're going to color in this middle circle, and that will be our fingering for C. That's it. No other notes. For our B, you guessed it, another treble clef. The trombone, baritone, and tuba are some of the instruments that play with the other clefs. The saxophone, along with the flute and the clarinet, play with treble clefs. So we have B is going to be the third line from the bottom. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3. You'll be all set with that note. Nice whole note. And B is only going to be the first finger, the first key in our left hand. Fill in this top circle, and you are all set. So both C and B only have one finger being pushed down, but they're different fingers. C uses our middle finger, where B uses our pointer. All right, moving on to A. Another treble clef. That one looks a little funny, but it's neat, so it's all right. A is going to be the second space from the bottom, so we're going to count 1, 2. All right, it's important that we get a good sense of how to read this music. A is going to have our first 2 keys in our left hand. We're going to quickly move on to G. I want to get this video done before we hit the 10-minute mark. Oh, man. G is going to be the second line from the bottom. 1, 2. Draw a nice whole note, being careful not to rush through the drawing process. Nice and slow. Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady plays the right note. And this G is going to have all 3 in our left hand colored in. Color in those circles all the way. Awesome. For our low F, we're going with the treble clef. Low F is going to be in the bottom space, so it's going to right here. And low F is going to have our first, second, and third, as well as the first tone hole in our bottom or right hand. All right, and our last note. Woo, that was a fast one. Doesn't look too good though. Gotta erase it. After I talked about going slow and steady, I draw sloppy and too quick. Much better. Low E is going to be the very bottom line of our staff, so we're going to draw it right here. Okay? And our low E is going to get our top 3 tone holes, as well as the top 2 of our bottom tone hole, leaving only the last one blank. The only difference between low E and octave key E is the octave key. All right, let's take a look. So we have our low E, picture and fingering, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E. And that should do it for our first set of notes for fingering chart note names. All right, guys, make sure that this is all nicely written in. Your name is on top, and keep this with you in your folder forever. You're always going to need this. Happy practicing. I'll see you at lessons.